the bill seeking to grant ABS-CBN a franchise was referred to this committee. This bill, House Bill 6901, was authored by Representative Ron Salo. So before we proceed to the interpellation, let's hear the sponsorship of House Bill 6901 by Congressman Ron Salo. Congressman Ron Salo, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Combined party list on this representation support the grant of a new franchise to ABS-CBN, subject to its compliance with clear and specific parameters. Consistent with this position, I filed House Bill number 6901. Our democratic system affords a constitutional process for the grant or the renewal of franchises to media entities. We respect this process, and under any and all circumstances, we are determined to see to it that its integrity remains strong and credible. All Filipinos are constitutionally guaranteed the right to freedom of speech, but not everyone has the right to broadcast. The privilege to broadcast is only given to qualified persons so the grant will state of a franchise. In the past days and months, both traditional and social media were inundated with views for or against the renewal or the grant of a franchise to ABS-CBN. Those who favor the granting thereof think that there will be a curtailment of the freedom of speech, and consequently the press if such is disapproved. Those opposed to it, on the other hand, are convinced that it is never an issue of the freedom of speech or of the press, as everyone was free to voice out his sentiments. In fact, no one was censured by the government for expressing his views and opinions, no matter how these were strongly worded. Those opposed are convinced that the primary issue is the violations committed by its owners and officials that merit the renewal of the network's franchise. There are certainly merits and demerits of both positions, and expressing such concerns, ideas, and opinions on the matter is part of democracy. It allows us, the representatives of our people, to hear their sentiments, and enables Congress to craft an informed legislation. Parehong may punto sa mga sumusuporta at humaharang sa prangkisa ng ABS-CBN. Ang kailang pagpapahayag ng kailang hinaing, puro-purot opinyon ay bahagi ng demokrasya na ating tinatamasa. Dahil ito, upang marinig natin ang kailang mga boses nang sa gayon ay makapagtasa at makapagpasa ang kongreso ng nararapat na batas. Our support for the grant of a new franchise to ABS-CBN is primarily anchored on our desire to provide a more democratic space and medium where our people can express themselves, which is essential for a more vibrant democracy. We need more mediums to ventilate sentiments, scintillate ideas, and shape opinions. We need more mediums to inform the public of government laws, rules, and regulations and its efforts, develop more positive Filipino values, and create a more cohesive and coherent Filipino society and culture. We must listen as well to what many of our people say about having more choices for entertainment to fight your boredom and loneliness, to maintain your mental health, to momentarily forget your worries over the continuing threat of the pandemic and the looming widespread joblessness, and to paint smiles on forlorn faces trying to hide hunger and uncertainty. We need new mediums that are of Filipino orientation to ensure that our consciousness as Filipinos will not be lost in this forest of foreign-dominated sources of information. We ensure that while we are conscious of being part of a globalized world, we remain Filipinos with unique values, culture, and traditions. We reiterate that we are cognizant of the concerns raised by oppositors on the alleged violations of ABS-CBN. Certainly, these are legitimate and serious matters which cannot be swept under the rug. Thus, while we support ABS-CBN's grant of a new franchise, it cannot be business as usual for its owners and officials. We heard the promises and undertakings of ABS-CBN officials to strive to be a better company. Yet, we cannot simply hold on towards the urge for self-preservation. We need a commitment to accountability that will truly transform this network as a responsible institution with a deeper responsibility in building a nation. Not all of the network officials before us today will always be here to ensure that the new 25-year franchise will indeed bring about and sustain this new age of responsibility and accountability. Surely, we cannot wait for another 25 years when they return to apply for a renewal just to exact accountability as what we are doing in this hearing. We need a mechanism to make sure that within the life of the franchise, responsibility and accountability must define the continuing relevance of the grantee. Thus, I respectfully propose the following 7 highly important parameters with which ABS-CBN shall be measured within the period of the franchise to be implemented by the NTC and other agencies of the government. Otherwise, the owners and officers may be penalized, or its programs may be suspended, or ultimately its franchise may be recommended to Congress for revocation. These are specifically enumerated in House Bill 6901. Number 1, Mr. Chair, is strict compliance with the Constitution, laws, rules, and regulations, including labor laws and standards. Second is promotion of employment and security tenure. There must be a ratio of 60 to 40%, a minimum of 60% permanent employees, and a maximum of 40% contractors, casuals, job orders, consultants, talents, project officers, and independent contractors. Third is ensure impartial and balanced reporting. ABS-CBN shall ensure that news and events are reported accurately and truthfully, and that all parties involved in such news and events are allowed equal time opportunity for information sharing. Fourth is promotion of positive Filipino values. ABS-CBN must ensure that all its programs, including its talents and the languages used by its talents, promote positive Filipino values. The MTRCB shall actively monitor ABS-CBN's compliance on this matter. Fifth is provision of public service time. 10% of the paid commercials or advertisements shall be allocated based on need to the executive, legislative, judiciary, constitutional commissions, and international humanitarian organizations duly organized with statutes for free, as already contained in other franchise laws of other grantees. Six is a strengthened self-regulation of contents. ABS-CBN shall not allow to air speeches, plays, acts, or scenes, or other materials through broadcast or telecast with the tendency thereof is to propose or to incite treason, rebellion, or sedition, or the language used therein, or the theme of or the behavior or action of talents is immoral or indecent. And lastly, reasonable and equitable rates of election ads. Rates of election campaign ads should be reasonably and equitably priced to afford all candidates, particularly those seeking national positions, afford an equal opportunity to present their platforms of government. This will enable the electorate to arrive at an informed decision in choosing their leaders, and will promote the will remove the undue advantage of moneyed candidates over principled ones. COMELEC shall implement this section. And before I close, I propose that the 7-point track shall be fleshed out in an institutional plan of action for responsibility and accountability, or IPARA, that shall be crafted by NTC in consultation with DOLE, MTRCB, and COMELEC, to be used as a reference for regular monitoring and evaluation of the network's performance. Ang mga lituntuning ito ay tungo sa mas maayos na pasada ng ABS-CBN sa HIMPA Committee. At paminsan-minsan, maaari itong parahin sa tabi upang alamin kung ito'y nasa tamang ratsyada pa. I also filed House Bill number 6902, which requires all franchise grantees of television and radio broadcast networks to comply with these parameters. Comply or else paparahin din natin sila. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Ibigyan mo ng ano, pero...
Thank you, Congressman Salo.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Congressman Sar.
Mr. Chairman, just for the record, the Honorable Salo's bill is the second bill for the new one. All the other bills are for renewal. So it is only the Honorable Rufus and the Honorable Salo who filed a bill granting a franchise, which is technically a new franchise. And with that, Mr. Chairman, also, as we go to interpellation, and the other members may want to file other bills, but maybe if it's possible that their speeches just be inserted for the record. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Congressman Defensor. After the ABS-CBN presented its side last Monday, we'll begin with the interpellation by the members. So far, marami na po nagpa-pre-register para sa kanilang interpellation sa secretariat natin. The members can ask questions to the ABS-CBN officers and lawyers and other resource persons from the OSG, NTC, and DOJ. They can be asked by our members and sponsors to clarify matters related to the response of the ABS-CBN on the alleged constitutional violations of their franchise. Paalala lang ulit, meron tayong 3 minutes per author, hindi po kasama yung sagot po ng ating mga resource persons.
Tulad po nung nasabi ko nung nakaraang pagdinig, isa-isahin natin ang mga issue na di umano'y paglabag sa ating konstitusyon ng ABS-CBN. Ito ang magiging pagkakasunod-sunod ng mga katanungan. Una, whether or not the acquisition of ABS-CBN by the Lopez family after the EDSA revolution was pursuant to the Constitution. Pangalawa, whether or not ABS-CBN application violate the 50-year constitutional limitation for a franchise. At pangatlo, whether or not ABS-CBN violated the 100% Filipino ownership management of Mass Media na nahahati sa dalawang issue. Una, sa citizenship ni Mr. Gabby Lopez III. At pangalawa, sa posibleng pag-aari ng mga foreigners sa ABS-CBN sa pamamagitan ng mga PDRs. Magkahiwalay po nating itatakil yung dalawang issue po na yon. Let's go to the interpellation on the first constitutional issue, kung saan ang katanungan ay whether or not the acquisition of ABS-CBN by the Lopez family after the EDSA revolution was in accordance with the Constitution.
Una po sa listahan natin para sa kanyang manifestation, Congresswoman Claudine Diana Bautista.
Mr. Chairman, just a quick
Defense, sir.
question. We will be ending at 1 o'clock. Is that not correct, Mr. Chairman? 1 o'clock will be our...
Vice Chairman Defensor, we have another hearing for the Blue Ribbon Committee or Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability at 1 o'clock. It's about Meralco. So, importante sa ating mga kababayan na mapababa natin yung singil, kaya itatakel rin natin. Alam ko nga kaparehas na importante ito sa issue ng ABS-CBN, pero marami rin tayong trabaho dito sa Kongreso na kailangan nating gampanan.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you po. Kaya ko po nabanggit yan kasi ngayong pagkakataon, sa aking pagkakalam, si Mr. Gabby Lopez ay nandyan na sa Zoom. Kung meron po tayo ng cut-off time, kung maaari po doon sa agenda, unahin na natin siya, makapagtanong na yung mga tao para mailinaw na nila kaagad kung ano itong issue ng citizenship. Since we already have Mr. Gabby Lopez online, I think the Honorable Marcoleta.
Hearing suspended.
And the hearing is momentarily suspended as they discuss on the manner of proceedings of the third series of a hearing of the ABS-CBN franchise application. They're now discussing whether they'll go straight to Chairman Emeritus Gabby Lopez to discuss the matter with Congressman Marcoleta on the issue of citizenship. There are three issues the congressman would want to discuss in this hearing, which apparently has to end by 1 p.m. because they do have other matters to talk about outside of ABS-CBN, and these three issues include whether ABS-CBN's acquisition after EDSA revolution is constitutional. And the second point is whether ABS-CBN violated the 50-year constitution of a franchise. And the third in the list of issues to be discussed, whether or not ABS-CBN violated 100% Filipino ownership management on two grounds. And one of them is on that citizenship issue of Chair Emeritus Gabby Lopez and on the alleged foreign ownership through the Philippine depository receipts. So they're all in a huddle right now to talk about the way this hearing will proceed. You're seeing the congressional hearing on the ABS-CBN franchise application, the third in a series of hearings on the final week before Congress adjourns for a break. Committee chairs Jose Antonio C. Alvarado and Franz Alvarez leading the proceedings there. Looks like they're set to begin again. Let's listen in.
As per our discussion, first and foremost, Mr. Gabby Lopez is there. Nandiyan na po siya. Pangalawa, ito po yung mga constitutional issues na kailangan natin resolba. Yung citizenship is very critical to the issue of the franchise. Kaya po, Mr. Chair, with the agreement of our good chairman, Congressman Ticoy Alvarez, chairman of the Legislative Franchise Committee, Congressman John Alvarado of the Blue Ribbon Committee, I move that we take up the issue of the citizenship of Mr. Gabby Lopez. I so move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
There's a motion, duly seconded. We will tackle first the issue of whether or not ABS-CBN violated the 100% Filipino ownership and management of mass media. Uunahin po muna natin ang katanungan about citizenship ni Mr. Gabby Lopez III. Paglilinaw po, bago natin umpisahan ang interpellation at ibigay ang floor kay Congressman Dindi Bautista. Hindi po natin binibigyan ng special treatment dito si Mr. Gabby Lopez. Hindi po natin siya pinag-iinitan. Kaya sa kadahilanan na siya ay unang tatanungin. Ang kadahilanan po kung bakit siya ay unang tatanungin, kasi yung citizenship po ang kauna-unahang prohibition pagdating po sa pagkakaroon ng franchise. Kaya po, bubuksan na po natin ang pagtatanong at ang una pong magtatanong, the chair now recognize Honorable Claudine Diana Bautista.
Mr. Chairman, point of order. Mr. Chairman, in pursuant to our rules, especially in the Blue Ribbon Committee, may we ask all guests to take their oath before, because I think last time Mr. Gabby Lopez wasn't present, and so do we administer the
Thank
oath?
you for the gentle reminder, Congressman Albano, Vice Chairman of the Blue Ribbon Committee. Comsec and guest, may we direct the Comsec to give the oath and to swear in all the guests.
Please stand, including the
Mr. Chairman, continuing oath yung mga nag-swear na nag-oath na dati, continuing oath na lang sila. Yung mga hindi pa lang na...
Yes, Congressman Remulla, also Vice Chairman of this committee. Yung mga bagong dating lang po.
si Mr. Gabby Lopez at saka si Asek.
Namely, Mr. Gabby Lopez
Asek Aglipay.
and Asek Aglipay.
Yusek pala.
And Yusek Emily Aglipay.
Sana may mic sila. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this joint congressional hearing? So help you God. Thank you.
Maraming salamat po, Comsec. Again, uulitin ko po, the chair now recognize Congresswoman Honorable Claudine Diana Dindi Bautista.
siguro po. Baka,
Paki-unmute po, paki-unmute.
Yes, thank you. Before my interpellation, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a short manifestation.
Yes, you may, Congressman Dindi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning to our chairperson of the Committee on Legislative Franchises, Chair Chicoy Alvarez. Good morning, Chair Jonathan C. Alvarado. To the members of this committee and the honorable members of the House of Representatives, our guests for today, good morning. The matter that this joint committee is about to tackle, the matter of legislative franchise of ABS-CBN, is undeniably of great importance. To some, the current issue is simply about ABS-CBN's 11,000 employees or the loss of their favorite programs. But while these must be taken into account, it is of utmost importance to consider other substantive issues raised in relation to ABS-CBN's franchise application and demand our scrutiny as lawmakers who are called upon to exercise the mandate and perform the responsibility given to us by the Filipino people. In the interest of fairness, we must hear ABS-CBN's arguments as well as the numerous allegations and issues being raised by those opposing ABS-CBN's application for a grant of franchise. It is the duty of this august chamber and the interest to conduct a thorough, fair, and transparent investigation into the allegations being levied against ABS-CBN. Hence, given the need to ensure a comprehensive, balanced, and orderly inquiry into the matter of ABS-CBN's franchise application, and as a member of both Committee on Legislative Franchise and Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability, I would like to humbly but formally request to this joint committee that we only permit questions and inquiries entirely relevant to the subject matter, to the extent that will allow a thorough presentation and appreciation of the evidence, as our speaker promised to this joint committee. Thank you, and may we all have a fruitful and productive committee meeting today.
Congresswoman Bautista, do you have any other questions?
No, that was just a manifestation, Mr. Chair. I'd like to proceed with the interpellation about the citizenship of our guest.
Please do so, Congresswoman Bautista.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, good morning, Mr. Lopez, and thank you for joining us in today's committee hearing.
Magandang umaga po. Representative Bautista, Speaker of the House Alan Cayetano, Majority Leader Martin Romualdez, Chairman of the two committees on Legislative Franchise, Chairman Alvarez, and Committee on Good Governance, Chairman Alvarado, members of both subcommittees, esteemed members of Congress, to our 11,000 employees, ang mga mamayan watching us throughout the country. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat.
Maraming salamat po sa napakasarap na pagbati, Mr. Gabby Lopez. Pero ipapaalala lang po ng mga chairman ng joint committee na ito na please wait to be recognized bago po kayo magsasalita. At iyan po ay isa sa mga batas po ng committee ito. And always address the chairman sa pagtatanong at sa pagsagot. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Gabby Lopez. You may continue, Congresswoman Dindi Bautista.
Okay, Mr. Chair, my questions will be addressed to Mr. Gabby Lopez himself. Again, sir, good morning, and thank you for joining us in our hearing today. I just have a few questions with regards to the issue on your citizenship. Sir, before 2001, as an American citizen with a U.S. passport, have you traveled all over the world using this U.S. passport, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Excuse me, Congresswoman Bautista and Mr. Gabby Lopez. Uulitin ko po, always address your inquiry to the chair, and before po kayo sasagot, bago po kayo sasagot, hintayin niyo po muna na kilalanin po kayo ng chairman. Please wait to be recognized first. Okay po? Tuloy na po tayo. Maraming salamat. Congresswoman Dindi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, on these travels using your U.S. passport, you had to identify yourself as an American citizen in filling up immigration and customs form, right?
Mr. Lopez?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chair, by the way, when you applied for a U.S. passport as an American citizen, did you ever indicate in your application that you were also claiming Philippine citizenship?
Mr. Lopez?
The immigration forms that I've had to fill out did not have a provision addressing that particular question about my multiple citizenship.
Congresswoman Bautista?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, from your answers, it appears to me that during this part of your life, when you were living in the U.S., you were born as an American citizen, studying in American schools. During this entire time, did you ever take the U.S. Pledge of Allegiance?
Mr. Lopez?
Your Honor, I did not.
Congresswoman Bautista?
Not even in the Pledge of Allegiance was part of school activities, because Mr. Chair, I remember, I studied here in the Philippines from elementary to high school, and I remember from elementary to high school, after ng flag raising natin, di ba po, we raise our hand and we recite the Panatang Makabayan. So, I'd like to clarify with Mr. Lopez, did you partake in any of the activities that you had to do the same in the States?
Mr. Lopez.
Your Honor, I grew up in the Philippines, and I went to grade school and high school in the Philippines. And I only went to college and my master's in America. When you go to college in America, it does not ask you to give an oath of allegiance.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Please continue, Congresswoman Bautista.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. By the way, in your school records in the U.S., did you ever indicate that you are a citizen of the Philippines?
Mr. Lopez.
Yes, Your Honor, I applied to my college and to my master's as a Filipino citizen.
Congresswoman Bautista.
While you lived as an American citizen in the U.S., did you ever vote in the U.S. election?
Mr. Lopez.
Yes, Your Honor, I voted in 2016, the 2016 elections.
Okay.
Congresswoman Bautista.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So when you came to the Philippines in 1986, you were still using your American passport, correct?
Yes, Your
Mr.
Honor.
Lopez.
Sorry.
Please continue, Mr. Lopez.
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
Congresswoman Bautista.
In fact, you first got your Philippine passport in 2001, correct?
Mr. Lopez.
Yes, Your Honor.
So whenever you traveled to the Philippines under your American passport from 1986 to 2001, what type of visa was stamped on your passport upon arrival?
Mr. Lopez.
If I recall correctly, it was a balikbayan status.
So, hindi ka, ano. So, ibig sabihin, American citizen ka.
Congresswoman Bautista, you still have the floor continuously. Dire-diretso ka po. Huwag mo na po ako
Thank you.
hintayin. Si Mr. Lopez lang po ang maghihintay to be
Okay,
recognized.
thank you, Mr. Chair. So are you aware that being given a balikbayan visa or a 30-day visa, these visas are intended to be given for non-Filipinos?
Mr. Lopez.
It was never brought to my attention, but it was one of the reasons, perhaps, that in 2001, I applied for a recognition of my Philippine citizenship.
So, hindi ka citizen. Hindi ka
Okay.
Filipino citizen.
So, incidentally, did the upper management of ABS-CBN know that you were using an American passport and had no Filipino passport when you assumed leadership of ABS-CBN in 1986?
Mr. Lopez.
Your Honor, it was not an issue that was raised during our management hearings.
So your submission showed that you filed a petition with the Bureau of Immigration in 2001 for recognition of Filipino citizenship. During this process, were you asked to fill up an alien fingerprinting form?
Mr. Lopez.
Your Honor, this was so long ago, I don't recall if I were filed or filled out an alien
Hindi ka
registration form.
Kasi balikbayan mo.
But perhaps my lawyers can answer that question. Your Honor, would they be given an opportunity to answer on my behalf? They have the details.
Yes, the lawyer of Mr. Gabby Lopez is now recognized. Yung lawyer mo po ba, Sir Gabby, ay nakapag-take ng kanyang oath?
Ang lawyer ko po si Ayo Bautista, who is also our corporate lawyer. I think he is under a continuing oath.
Okay.
He's been a resource person for...
The lawyer of Mr. Gabby Lopez is now recognized. Please answer the question of Congresswoman Bautista.
Good morning po. Ano po uli yung tanong ninyo, Congressman Bautista?
Good morning, attorney.
Okay, ma'am.
Sir, my question was, your submission showed that you filed a petition with the Bureau of Immigration in 2001 for recognition of Filipino citizenship. During this process, were you asked to fill up an alien fingerprinting form?
ABS-CBN?
Opo. Sorry.
Yes, you're recognized.
Ang intindi ko po, hindi po ako sigurado, is that Mr. Lopez did file that alien form.
Okay. Okay, sir. So, were you, going back to Mr. Gabby Lopez, sir, were you advised to file this petition or did you find it necessary to do so yourself?
Yes, ABS-CBN.
Yes, Your Honor. It was in recognition of being a natural-born citizen that I took it upon myself to ask for recognition of my citizenship. My understanding from my lawyers was that I am a natural-born Filipino citizen because both my parents are Filipino citizens. But because I was not born in the Philippines, I did not have a Filipino birth certificate. So it behooved me to have a recognition by the Department of Justice and the Bureau of Immigration for whatever legal purposes I may use of that recognition po.
So, Mr. Lopez, is it correct in saying that this petition was indeed to settle issues regarding your citizenship, correct?
Mr. Lopez?
Opo, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, sir. I read somewhere that after this process and after you got your Philippine passport in 2001, you still traveled using your U.S. passport. And there were still instances when you traveled to the Philippines using your American passport. Do you confirm this, sir?
Before I recognize Mr. Gabby Lopez, paalala lang po kay Congresswoman Dindi Bautista na lumagpas na po tayo sa 3 minutes and if you can, please wrap up at maaari ka po naming ilista ulit dito sa bilang ng mga magtatanong, Congresswoman Bautista. Mr. Gabby Lopez?
Your Honor, if my law be recognized to speak out on this specific issue.
Yes, Attorney.
Salamat po. Dalawang punto po ang ni-raise ni Congressman Bautista tungkol sa citizenship ni Mr. Gabby Lopez. Una po, gumagamit siya ng US passport. Pangalawa, nag-file siya ng petition for recognition sa Bureau of Immigration. Doon po sa kaso ng Valles versus Comelec na tinicide ng Supreme Court on August 9, 2000. Maliwanag po na sinabi ng Korte Suprema na ang paggamit ng alien or foreign passport ay hindi po indicative na isang tao po ay hindi Pilipino. Doon po sa kasong yon, sinabi po na yung respondent, private respondent, na by coincidence, ang pangalan din po niya ay Rosalind Ibasco Lopez. Sinabi po ni Valles na hindi siya Pilipino dahil number 1, she had an Australian passport, and number 2, she expressly renounced her Filipino citizenship when she declared under oath in her application for alien certificate of registration and immigrant certificate of residence that she was a citizen or subject of Australia. Dinismiss po itong kasong to ng Korte Suprema. In dismissing the case, the Supreme Court said, and I quote, "In order that citizenship may be lost by renunciation, such renunciation must be expressed." Sinight po ng Supreme Court ang Aznar versus Comelec at Mercado versus Manzano and Comelec. And I quote, "Thus, the mere fact that the private respondent, Rosalind Ibasco Lopez, was a holder of an Australian passport and an alien certificate of registration are not acts constituting an effective renunciation of citizenship and do not militate against her claim of Filipino citizenship. For renunciation to effectively result in the loss of citizenship, the same must be expressed. So, doon po sa punto na ginamit ni Mr. Lopez yung kanyang American passport, hindi po nagkakahulugan na hindi siya Pilipino. Pangalawa po, Congressman Bautista raised the petition of Mr. Gabby Lopez for recognition with the Bureau of Immigration, which was subsequently affirmed by the Department of Justice. Yung pagpili niya sa kanyang letter request, as you admit, is a petition for recognition.
Mr. Chairman, may I just ask the lawyer one question?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Congressman Remulla.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only question is he 100% Filipino or 100% American or 50% Filipino and 50% American?
Ganyan naman eh.
Attorney.
He is po a dual citizen. Ang dual citizen po, si Mr. Gabby Lopez, dahil pinanganak siya, ang kanyang magulang ay Pilipino. Under the prevailing 1935 Constitution na umiiral nung siya ay pinanganak.
Very simple lang kasi, no? I don't want a long deliberation in this matter. I just want to know if is he partly Filipino and partly American or half Filipino, half American. I don't want to dwell on the technicalities of what the Supreme Court says. I just want to know for practical purposes, is he purely Filipino or is he partly Filipino or does he claim to have two citizenships?
He has a dual citizenship
Attorney.
status po.
So yung dual is, Mr. Chairman, dual citizenship means two citizenships means dual citizenship. Is that correct, Attorney Bautista?
Opo, dalawa po ang citizenship.
Okay, that's all I need to know, Mr.
American
Chairman. Thank you, Mr.
citizen
Chairman.
and he's a Filipino citizen.
Pababain.
Ito po kanyang pagiging Amerikano at Pilipino.
Mr. Chairman, the question has been answered already.
Thank you, Congressman Remulla. Attorney, you can continue.
Opo, salamat po ng maran. Yung pagka-dual citizenship po ni Mr. Gabby Lopez ay automatic legal consequence dahil pinanganak po siya mula sa mga Pilipino and under our Constitution, jus sanguinis ay Pilipino siya. Pinanganak din po siya sa Amerika. Na alam po naman natin na pagka ikaw ay pinanganak sa teritoryo ng Amerika, ikaw ay American citizen dahil po yung kanilang doctrine ng sinusunod ay jus soli. So from the moment